This disease can paralyze you in just one night. Yes, you heard me right. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about this disease. But first of all, welcome to the Underdogs Acharya. I am Anup Yadav, and today I will tell you about the Guillain-Barré Syndrome. Yes, that's how it is pronounced. You don't call it Guillain-Barré Syndrome, you don't call it Guillain-Barré Syndrome. It's called Guillain-Barré Syndrome, and it can paralyze you in just one night. So, why are we talking about this? Because UPSC asks you every year about a disease which is in news, and this disease has been in news for quite some time. Okay, so in today's video, we will talk why this topic is in news, what is it, some key facts about this disease, and what causes this disease, types of this disease, symptoms, diagnosis, treatments, prognosis, and expected questions from this topic. We will also link it to the static part of our syllabus, that is the human nervous system. Let's move forward. So, when you look at your UPSC syllabus in prelims, you will find that there is a special mention of current events, which this topic in which this topic is included. Also, it is also a part of the general science part of your syllabus. In mains, it is a part of GS3. So, this is a little something about me. You can pause and read if you find necessary. But let's not waste any more time. Moving forward. So, what is Guillain-Barré syndrome? So, it is a neurological disorder. That is, it affects your nerves. Yes, when your immune system mistakenly thinks your peripheral nervous system is a foreign entity and it starts attacking it. That's what Guillain-Barré syndrome is. So basically, it is an autoimmune disorder and it leads to muscle weakness, numbness, and in severe cases, paralysis. Yes, paralysis. So, now you're going to ask me, what is autoimmune disease? An autoimmune disease is a condition in which your body's immune system, whose job is to protect your body from diseases, gets overstimulated and it attacks your body. It attacks parts of your body and sometimes it attacks essential functions of your body, essential organs of your body. So, for example, rheumatoid arthritis or immunothrombocytopenia. For example, in rheumatoid arthritis, your immune system considers your bones and skeleton system, your cartilage, as foreign entities and starts attacking it. In immunothrombocytopenia, your immune system thinks your platelets are foreign entities which are causing you harm and it starts attacking and destroying them. Similarly, in Guillain-Barré syndrome, your immune system thinks your nerves are foreign entities. So, here is a list of some autoimmune diseases. Just go through these ones because UPSC can give you a list or some options and they might ask you, okay, which of the following are autoimmune diseases? And if you have gone through this list once or twice, you might be able to recall it. Moving forward. So, how do you know you have Guillain-Barré syndrome? What are its key features? First of all, how does it start? So, you have some minor infection, for example, a stomach bug or some cold, and after that, your immune system goes into overdrive, hyperdrive, and it starts attacking your nerves. Okay, so its onset. For example, when the disease is starting, you will start feeling some tingling and weakness in your feet and your legs, and it will eventually spread to your upper body and arms. Its symptoms typically develop over hours to maybe it will take some weeks, but in severe cases, it will paralyze you overnight. For example, uh, what I mean is you will start feeling tingling in your legs and feet in the evening, and by morning, you will be paralyzed. So that's how dangerous this disease is. Here are some symptoms I have mentioned in on this slide. You can go through them to remember what this disease is. Moving forward. So this disease is not contagious. It cannot be passed from one person to another like cold or sexually transmitted diseases because it's an autoimmune disease and autoimmune diseases are not transferable. Okay. Its exact cause is still not fully understood, but it is believed that this abnormal response of immune system is often triggered by infections. For example, my mother was in government hospital for 4 days and 1 month after that she developed rheumatoid arthritis because her immune system went into overdrive. S- But despite its increased risk, GBS still remains a rare disorder. For example, only 1 and 2 people are affected by it per 1 lakh, that too annually. Now you will ask me what are the causes of this disease. So, like I already told you, first cause is infection. So when you have a stomach bug or a cold and you are affected by Campylobacter jejuni, which is a bacteria which affects your digestive system, so that confuses your immune system and it goes into overdrive and starts attacking your nerves. Another could be Epstein-Barr virus or Zika virus. Now, the second and not so common reason for this disease, not so common cause of this disease, is vaccinations. Okay, for some vaccinations like those for influenza or swine flu may be linked to GBS, but their risk is very minuscule, approximately 1 or 2 cases per million. So, also, if you have had surgery or trauma recently, so when you have a surgery or trauma, your body opens up, or the doctor opens your body, you have a huge immune response. When we are hurt, when we have a wound, you have a huge immune response, and which can also confuse your body and it can go into overdrive. And again will start attacking your nerves and you can develop GBS. In other cases, like 20 to 30% of GBS cases, there is no trigger found and the causes are not known. It could be complex causes, that is a mixture of 2 or 3 causes, or could be entirely unknown causes. So, who is at risk from this disease? So, mostly it is adults over 50, because when you get older, your immune system starts getting weaker. And it is mm, generally believed that it affects children, but no, that is a myth. It is less common in children, but sometimes it can still occur. Also, males are more prone to GBS than females. And most of the cases are preceded by infection, and it will take some time for this disease to develop after you have had an infection episode. So now we will talk about the types of this disease. But before we talk about the types, let's have some basic understanding of our nervous system, which is linked to the static part of our syllabus. So, as we know, the nervous system of our body is responsible for rapid communication between our body parts and the brain. That is, for example, if you burn your finger, so nerves will relay that message to the brain and brain will send a response. If you are hurt, you stub your toe into the table, you feel pain because that signal is transmitted from your toes to your brain, and from brain the response is transmitted back, and that response is pain. So, this is what your nervous system does. Let's see what the nervous system is composed of. So, nervous system is divided into two parts, that is centralized nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So, in humans, CNS is mainly concerned with processing the information which it receives from the peripheral nervous system, whose job is to transmit that information from all the parts of our body to the brain. Clear? Two parts. Central nervous system is meant for processing information. PNS, that is peripheral nervous system, is meant for transmitting information. Now, the nervous system consists of neurons, which are building block. For example, all our body parts are composed of cells, of different cells. Muscles are composed of muscle cells, skin is composed of epithelial cells. Similarly, the nervous system is made up of neurons, which are cells. So neuron consists of three parts, that is the cell body, dendrites and axon. The cell body consists of cytoplasm and nucleus. The dendrites are short fibers which you can see here in the diagram, and they receive signal from other neurons. And then there is this axon, which is the long fiber which transmits this signal to other parts or other tissues or other neurons. So you can think of a neuron as a tree where the dendrites are branches and the cell body is a trunk, and this axon is the root which sends signal to the other trees, that is the other neurons. So how a neuron work, or how neurons work, how do they transmit the information? So there are two ways in which neurons work. First is electrical impulses and second is the chemical messengers. So, when a neuron gets the signal, it creates an electric impulse. This electric impulse travels quickly through the body of the neuron like electricity moving through a wire. And when it reaches this final part, this axon terminal releases chemicals called neurotransmitters into the tiny gap between the two neurons called the synapse. So these chemicals they travel across the synapse and they move on to the next neuron where it converts it again into electrical impulses, and the process repeats over and over again until that information reaches your brain. For example, when you learn something new, when you memorize a fact or practice a new skill like cycling or archery or any skill, your brain forms new connections between the neurons. And chemicals like dopamines, which are neurotransmitters, are released, which strengthen these connections and makes it easier for us to remember or perform that task again. Now, talking about the central and peripheral nervous system, like I already told you, the central nervous system, or which we call CNS, is the boss of your body. Everything that happens in your body is controlled by the CNS. It includes brain and the spinal cord. And as we all know, brain is the main control center. It makes the decisions, it stores memory, and it controls everything. And the spinal cord is basically a super highway, or like you can think a bundle of optical fibers you can compare it to, and it carries messages between brain and rest of the body. For example, when you are playing cricket and you see a ball flying towards you, your brain quickly decides whether you want to catch it or you want to duck. So, if you want to catch it, it sends signals to the spinal cord, and the spinal cord decides to activate your hands and you go like this. But if you decide to duck, your brain sends a different signal to your spinal cord and it activates your back muscles and your leg muscles, and you duck. Now, the peripheral nervous system is like a delivery team for the CNS. That is, whatever decisions brain makes and whatever decision it conveys to the spinal cord, those decisions are transmitted to the peripheral nervous system, which is a bundle of nerves which are spread throughout your body like wires in a computer, and they carry messages from the CNS. For example, you're sleeping and a mosquito bites you, the nerves in your skin tell you that, hey, something is there, something is biting me. So your brain sends a message back to the nerves, either make it fly away or slap it and kill it. So that's how PNS and CNS they work in tandem, they work in sync, and they control your overall body functions. So in CNS, the brain, which is the command center, it consists of three parts. That is the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. So the hindbrain is the most primitive part of our brain. It was developed the earliest in the earliest of humans, and it contains medulla oblongata, which controls our breathing rate, heart rate. Then the second part is pons, which relays signals and regulates our sleep. And then the third part is cerebellum, which coordinates movement and balance. So you can infer from here that the things which are necessary for our survival, that is heartbeat, breathing, sleep, movement, balance, everything, they're all controlled by the oldest part of our brain, that is the hindbrain. Now comes the midbrain. It was developed after the hindbrain, and it controls your movements, eye movement, and process auditory and visual information. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, it's all controlled by your midbrain. And now the latest part of our brain, which was developed pretty late in human evolution. So it's the forebrain. It consists of cerebrum, which is responsible thinking, memory, and sensory perception. So whatever we think, whatever modern ideas man had, industrialization, culture, painting, whatever, they're all results of the forebrain, that is the cerebrum. Okay, let's move back to the types of the GBS. Okay, the first form of GBS is AIDP. It is the most common form of GBS, and in this disease, type of in this subtype of GBS, the immune system attacks the myelin sheath. You remember myelin sheath I told you? That is the protective coating of nerves, and it looks somewhat like this. And when this is destroyed or this is damaged, you feel numbness, weakness, tingling, and in severe cases, paralysis. The second one is the Miller-Fisher syndrome, which is a rare variant of GBS and is characterized by eye muscle weakness. That is, the muscles of your eyes, they weak and you experience poor coordination and loss of reflexes. Sometimes you also get double vision, difficulty walking, and but in this disease, in this subtype, paralysis is less common. The next one is axonal forms, which is Aman and Amsan. Okay, so in the first one, that is acute motor axonal neuropathy, Aman, the immune system directly damages nerve axons. You remember axon, the long part of the neuron. So this gets damaged and it causes muscle weakness without sensory loss. In the second one, the AMSAN, that is acute motor sensory axonal neuropathy, both motor and sensory nerves are affected, leading to severe weakness and sensory deficit. So, overall, in this disease, in all subtypes, the result is almost the same, except the Miller Fisher syndrome, where it specifically affects your eyes. So, what is the diagnosis? How do you know that you have GBS? So, first of all, you need to get clinical evaluation of your symptoms, and it is generally preceded by lumbar puncture. That is, they put a needle in your spinal cord and then drain the spinal fluid, and they check the elevated protein levels, and that's how they diagnose that okay, you have GBS or there is an onset of GBS. Now, what constitutes its treatment? So it is IVIG, that is intravenous immunoglobulin, which help reduces immune system's attack on nerves. Then there is plasma exchange, which removes harmful antibodies from the blood. And then there is physical therapy to cope with muscle weakness and other symptoms. Now, what is the fatality rate of this disease? So, about 20% of people experience long term issues, but within a year, full recovery is experienced in majority of people who get affected by this disease. But the risk still remains with 3 to 5% of people are fatalities. They do not make it because of complications which include respiratory failure, infections, pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism is a part of fat breaks up and it acts like a clot, and when it reaches your brain, it results into death or a cardiac arrest. How can you prevent being affected by GBS? The first and foremost part is because it is preceded by the onset of infection, so you need to regularly wash your hands so you can prevent infections which are caused by Campylobacter jejuni or other such infectants. The second thing is you ensure that whatever food you eat is properly cooked and you eat from places which are hygienic and which maintain hygiene and cleanliness. The third thing which you can include in prevention is water treatment. That is, you do not drink contaminated water. And here the role of public health officials also come into play because water supply is maintained by government and public health official, so they also need to be cautious regarding the quality of water. Now in the end, let's have some fun facts about the nervous system and the brain. The brain consists of 86 billion neurons, and as a comparison, if so you can get how much 86 billion is, the earth has almost only 8 billion people. So also neurons can transmit signals at speeds of 120 meter per second, and if we compare it to the speed of sound, which is almost 330 meter per second, so it seems slow, but because our body is smaller and the distances are shorter, it's a very high speed. And the spinal cord is only 45 centimeters long, but it is essential for transmitting signals between brain and body. Now let's move on to what can be asked from this topic. So I have put here a few questions which you can practice, and I have also included the solutions. So that was all for Guillain-Barré syndrome, and that's all from my side. You were watching the Underdogs Acharya. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share with your friends, and you can download the lecture PDF on Telegram. Thank you. Take care. Have a great day.